I've always been interested in plants and flowers. My entire life, I grew up with it. My mom has a degree in environmental science. My uncle is a music teacher, but he has a huge interest in botany and desert plants. He volunteers at Joshua Tree National Park in California. So as a kid, he used to take me on these desert walks and show me all the different plants and what they were called. We'd make little desert salads of different plants that you could eat, like desert candlesticks and mustard. I know the oldest saguaro here died, but my uncle is all about the difference between Arizona and California plants. And so it's just been something that, I guess, like a family hobby we all talk about and we're all interested in. Some of the plants in my yard came from his garden in California. I used to teach high school in Alabama when we lived there, and one of my students that I kept in touch with, she was an adult and she was already, off out of high school and college working. And when I moved, she was super sad that I was moving, and she bought me this little bitty saguaro the first year that I was here for my birthday. And they grow really slow, but again, as soon as we bought the house, I put it in the front yard and quite literally put roots down, plants everywhere. As a kid, I wandered around the desert all the time, like usually barefoot with the cactus, which is probably not a good idea, but I was always running around the desert, picking up plants and like really looking at the cactus. And I think just as I got older and started making art, it was naturally what I wanted to do, but never really thought of it as like a career because everyone in my family does it. It's just a thing that you do. Like you have another job, but we all still make art. So I never really saw it as like a pathway to a career or art as a job of income or something. So I started doing like adult classes where I was teaching art just for fun, like as a hobby for free or whatever. And then they started paying me and I thought, well, this is great. Like, I wonder if I could do this as a career. When my kids were little, I went back to school and got a degree in art education. And the entire time I was teaching at the high school, the kids would say, well, why don't you just do this on your own? Like, why are you not just a full-time artist? And at first it was like, I'm not that good. I just got frustrated with that. And it was like, no, I want to make art for me and I want to put it out there. And I just had to get out of my head about not being as good as everyone else and just realizing that it doesn't matter, that what makes you unique is that your stuff is different. Again, all the things I was telling students, I wasn't listening to, I wasn't believing myself. I was just like, you can do it, be original. If you can make a mark, you're an artist. I meant it, but I wasn't hearing it. And I think I just had to like take that leap of confidence and go like, you know what? Like, I have a voice too, and I want to make what I want to make and I want to put it out there. And so I quit my job and I've spent the last about 2 years just making art. Yeah, two deserts it's because I'm from one desert and I'm living in another desert. I grew up in the Mojave Desert in Southern California. So I really wanted to capture, I guess, the past and the present, between the two deserts. Like, those two deserts are my identity, really, in a way. Like, it's not who I am, but it's where I'm from and what I appreciate and want to celebrate. I spent a very long time trying to come up with a name that I felt like would fit. And I thought, what happens when I don't make plants? Like when I'm not doing desert art? But I've realized even as I'm shifting into like new things, it's still there. It's not gonna go away, and it's still the roots. So, pun intended. I think what really attracts me or draws me into wanting to draw like the cactus and succulents is probably that contrast of the color and the texture. Sometimes they're really geometric, or they have that symmetry from the center out, the way they've grown. A lot of the succulents grow that way. And then when you have cactus, they are very textural. They have little thorns and they have big thorns and they have smooth areas behind the thorns. And then when they bloom, they have these really silky, soft petals. There's just this huge contrast between the sharp and spiky and the softness, and the ground is rough. If you've seen desert sand is rough. And I make a lot of watercolor just because, one, it's something that I learned recently, and it sounds crazy. I grew up with acrylic paints. My mom was an oil painter and acrylic paint. So that's what I started with. The purple and yellow prickly pear, that's acrylic, but that is one of my favorites. It's like a plant that shouldn't exist, but does, like they're opposite colors. Like, who would have thought there's a purple cactus? But it's the Santa Rita prickly pear, and they do bloom yellow. Some of the newer watercolors I've been experimenting with painting things, watercolor, analog, and then scanning them in digitally and doing some digital art. So like using Illustrator and Photoshop and making some new things. I think being outside in nature is very meditative. That you're just focused on this thing and you're like, look at the colors and look how it grows, and it kind of gives you different viewpoints on life, that you're seeing things in a way that, yeah, maybe you don't normally see. Say if you're sitting in a park and there's grass and there's trees, but you're still in a city, it's hard to get away from those noises, and it's hard to get away from what's happening right here and right now. And we even talk about that in my studio outside. Like, I can shut the door to my house and the world and everything else that's happening there, and I'm out here and the breeze is blowing and the crickets and the cicadas are screaming, and I can see the plants around my yard. Like, it is kind of meditative to just be outside in nature, and nothing else matters. You get in your head a little bit, but sometimes you need to get in your head. Sometimes you need to process what's going on in here and deal with it, and not just be distracted by everything around you.